Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
That kid is back on the escalator again.
Ain't gonna hurt.
Is my boomstick!
Game over, man. It's game over.
Welcome to the Bargain Bin. He's your host, Ben Mason.
And he's your co-host, Sandro Luketic. And today we're talking 1994's Surviving the Game. As always, we assume if you're listening to this episode, you have already seen the movie. This is one I had seen quite a bit, Sandro, back in the day, but it has been a very long time, and I remembered almost nothing about it. I assume you have never seen this movie, heard of this movie, and only saw it recently.
Correct. Yeah, actually, it's one of the movies that I don't even remember seeing like a poster or a trailer or an advertisement for. Like you mentioned it, and this happens sometimes where you're like, hey, we're going to watch this movie, and I take a look, and I'm like, oh, okay. You know, that rings a bell. I remember seeing that or whatever, but nothing about this movie stood out to me as from like my past.
With a cast like this, I can't believe that. This is just so stacked with all the people we love.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Most of the people we love.
Still being a little generous.
A couple people we've heard of.
Correct.
Now, just looking at the main cast, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of 8. Not terrible.
I mean, if you're just talking about people that you know, I know a lot of them. If you're talking about people that you like, it's not as many for me.
Interesting. We're definitely going to get into that one then. 'Cause favorite character and least favorite character were actually kind of tough picks this week. But we'll get into this. Do you know the director of this movie?
Oh, come on, man. No, I don't.
Ernest Dickerson. We both absolutely adored one of his movies that we actually covered on this show.
Oh, no. You're not going to do this
to
me, are you?
It was a horror film.
I don't know.
Demon Knight.
Yo, I love Demon Knight.
Same. Yeah, it's one of my all-time favorite movies. And I can see hints of that type of filmmaking in Surviving the Game. Watching this movie, knowing Demon Knight was to follow, I could see it. I could definitely see it. But let's get into this movie.
This came out before Demon Knight?
Was Demon Knight 95?
I don't know.
I'll look it up then.
I don't know what year this was.
94. Let's see, Demon Knight. Yeah, it came out a year after this. Yeah, 1995.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Quick introduction to our lead here, Mason, played by Ice-T, who has never really let me down in movies. Television, different story. But even having like a bit role in Johnny Mnemonic, he was great in that. But yes, he is our homeless hero. You see him digging through dumpsters for food, and that's intercut with scenes of a man being hunted in the forest. Kind of sets the tone, doesn't it?
Yes. There's 2 types of hunting going on. One for food and one for sport.
And that's another thing, too. The way they talk about this, again, like, spoilers is not a thing here. We're going to jump over it a little bit. Are we led to believe that the hunters may be cannibals?
I see no reason to think they are.
Yeah. The way they talk about the hunt at the dinner makes me curious about it. Especially how, God, what's his name? Hawkins, the way he talks about looking into the eyes of an animal as it dies, because then you're stealing its soul, kind of made me think that. And then when you think about, well, they've got the heads of everybody, where are the bodies?
See, I didn't take it that way. Like, I thought they were just trying to dehumanize them. And then in regards to storage, like, you see an animal's head mounted on the wall, you don't ask where the body is, right?
More people should, because that's an interesting question.
Maybe they should, but they don't, right? And for some of the animals that are on the wall, perhaps they ate them if they hunted a boar or something like that. But like, see a rhino head on the wall, I'm pretty confident they didn't eat the rhino.
I'd take a bite of rhino just to say I did.
So either way, like I said, for me, it just felt like they were dehumanizing their targets, and then the heads was strictly just trophies.
Oh, yeah, it was definitely a trophy room. Mason's dog gets hit by a cab, and the cabbie demands Mason pay for the damages.
It's not his dog, right?
It's just a dog that hangs around. I think it may have been his dog.
Oh, okay. I thought it was just like an alley dog or something, you know.
It
Maybe,
could be.
maybe.
They don't go too deep into it, but he's got a name for it and everything.
At the same time, too, like, why would the cabbie just assume that the guy who ran out into the street to help is the owner, right? And demand payment. It's like,
and then punch him in the face.
yeah, it was a very awkward exchange.
The whole confrontation being watched by Walter Cole, who's played by Charles S. Dutton, who we're eventually led to believe works for a missionary helping the homeless as like his sole, not job, but his will to do. I say this is an amazing cover for this character.
Well, it gives them an opportunity to suss out potential victims and it not seem completely out of the realm of reality. Like he's just trying to help these people, but really he's looking for homeless people that nobody will miss if they're gone.
Exactly. Who will put up a fight too?
Yes, for sure.
Do some investigating. Introduced to Hank, another homeless man and Mason's friend, I guess. An odd pairing, but I like it. And this, you have to agree with me here. This was begging to be played by Dick Miller.
That's not a fair question, man. Like, I see a role of a seasoned white gentleman, and I'm always going to think Dick Miller could have done a good job playing this role. Like, at the very least, he won't do a bad job. But yes, more Dick Miller, please.
Well, that's not going to happen.
No.
While searching for food, Mason finds a gun in the garbage. Upon your first viewing of this film, the whole check the barrel section of finding the gun, you had to agree with me. That is such heavy foreshadowing.
No.
Are you serious? You didn't pick up on that at all?
No.
Oh my
it's just
God.
like, oh, they're just talking about guns. In my mind, I'm like, okay, Ice-T is supposed to be some sort of survivor. We're going to assume that he's going to be, the protagonist that comes out in the end. I'm like, oh, maybe he's just one that doesn't know firearms, right? So we're showing him like, oh, if later on in the movie he has to use a gun, he doesn't know how or something like that. But foreshadowing, yes. That heavy or obvious, not so much.
Okay. Maybe I just looked at it the way, like, this movie is not very long. So they're not going to waste that much time on something that's not going to be important later in the film. But basically it's just if you fire a gun and the barrel's blocked, it can blow up in your hand.
This whole thing is a short movie, and yet even all of these scenes with Hank, I'm like, don't really need.
Yeah, I don't really know what benefit do we get from Hank? I mean, I love the character, but
I honestly think it's just the knowledge about the guns, because he's like a former military man who can give Ice-T that information. Maybe we're trying to show early in the movie that with the loss of Hank and the dog that Ice-T like literally has nothing left, but kind of already got that impression when he was rooting through garbage cans for food.
It's true. And the Mason character I find incredibly aggressive almost all the time. Even when he's being nice, he's being rude. So I think maybe even pairing him up with the Hank character and the dog is showing like his real kind side and how he's just like a hard ass guy who hates himself and the world that he's in now, but he is actually nice when you get to know him.
Sure, but I don't need him to be a nice guy.
I know. Well, the thing is, if he's not a nice guy, we can't root for him. Because then you just get a bunch of assholes killing each other.
I mean, I don't know exactly how you would do it, but I've seen plenty of movies where the protagonist is a jerk and I still love them. So,
fair. Jerk and asshole are very different, though. Like, Bruce Campbell's Ash in Army of Darkness will say, he's a jerk. I wouldn't call him a straight-up asshole.
Okay, now we're splitting hairs. I don't know, man.
All right. But they decide to steal a side of meat from a warehouse and are stopped by security. Did you think that when Hank took that shot to the ribs, he was going to die?
No.
Really? I thought it was an instant heart attack from that point on, because it keeps cutting back to him, and it's just like wincing, clutching his chest.
I guess it was foreshadowing what happens in a couple minutes movie runtime-wise, but yeah, not really.
What did you think about the security guard actually trying to shoot Mason in the face?
Way too eager for violence. Like Hank is like, was it Hank that said it? No. It was Ice. It was Ice-T that said it. We're just trying to get some food. You think maybe the security guard would be like, all right, get out of here or whatever. Like, this guy's like, I'm gonna murder both of you, and he says it with a smile on his face.
Well, he also proves to us that this isn't the first time they've done this, because he even says, he's like, I finally got you this time. So I wonder how long they've been stealing meat from this place. And that guy must have been shit on by his boss so bad.
Well, he's a terrible security guard.
Mason's response, though, is to knock him over and verbally threaten him until he runs away.
Yeah, well, because he doesn't actually want to hurt him for some reason.
Yeah, I don't get that. Like, you just watched him almost take out an old man who you're friends with.
And salivate at the idea of taking you out.
Yeah, exactly. He tried to shoot you in the face.
It's not like he's standing there like, I'm going to turn you into the authorities. No, this dude wants to flat out murder you. Like, security guard looking for a license to kill.
That guy's definitely getting some boots, I'll tell you that much, as soon as he's on the ground. So Cole watches from the car, and we already have to assume the guy is no good.
Yeah, no. Out of the goodness of his heart, he's spying.
Yeah. Even when we find out where he works, I don't think any viewer is fooled into thinking that Cole is a good guy. And I don't know if that's what the movie's trying to do, because that would be a nice little twist early on. But as soon as we see him watching, the way he's watching, we're like, oh, this guy's up to no good.
See, in my mind, I'm just like, why did he think that Mason was a good candidate? It's like, he's watching this interaction. He's like, good, he's passive.
Well, he's not even that passive. He's just not violent.
Right?
So,
but you want a challenge, right? So it's like, oh, this guy doesn't even want to fight back. All right.
The next scene I found incredibly annoying. And it's not because of what we're seeing on screen, which is the cookout with the other homeless people. It's the music.
Okay.
It is the worst music I have ever heard and does not fit this scene whatsoever. I had to go back a few times and just... It doesn't make sense.
Okay.
It's weird, like, upbeat clarinet, sorry. It just doesn't fit. I highly recommend anybody who's thinking about watching this movie watch it specifically for this. And people who have seen it and didn't pick up on it, go back. It's trying to think about how far in. It's maybe like 11 minutes into the movie.
You're telling me that a cookout of homeless people that live under the overpass is not the right opportunity for upbeat clarinet music?
Exactly. I know it sounds weird, but it's true.
I'm not buying it.
My next note here just says, inspirational speech from Hank. Quote, it's up to you to get your life back on track. Subtle movie. Subtle.
Yeah.
There's nothing. I don't really think there's anything in this movie that's subtle.
It's one of those scenes where you're like, if you take into take into your mind the idea that these people have a past relationship and they've known each other for a while, they're sleeping in the same, I don't know what it is, a bus or wagon or whatever.
Yeah.
This isn't the kind of conversation that you would have.
No,
this is expedition dump conversation, and I always can't stand them because it's like, does Hank just tell him this every day?
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Well, this will be the last time he tells it to him, because next morning Hank's dead.
From what? Just being old?
Maybe. Or maybe he actually did suffer something from that security guard shot.
When that's the problem. They didn't play it up. Make it seem like that was the reason.
Yeah, it's definitely played up like he just died of old age.
You know, like, I would have even potentially put a scene in there where after the security guard confrontation, Mason tries to take him to the hospital and they, like, turn him away or something like that. Yeah. And then he dies from the wounds because the world has turned their backs on them.
See, that would be great. That would make the movie better. But no, instead, Hank dies in his sleep in Ice-T, and Mason's just annoyed about it.
Yeah.
And then
because now he's got to dig a hole.
Well, yeah, he buries him in a vacant lot next to the dog. Even then, don't you think you let someone know?
This is the second scene of him burying someone already. Or something, I guess, if you want to call a dog someone. I don't know.
The plots haven't even started yet. The body count's up to 2.
Again, if you count a dog, yes.
Cole confronts Mason after he walks past the free lunch line at the mission. Mason just walks out into the street, into the path of an oncoming truck. I guess you may as well traumatize somebody for killing you.
Well, he's not thinking about them.
Still. Oh, God. He's saved by Cole, who convinces him to take a job as a hunting survival guide. Now, this is where warning bells should be going off. When Mason says he doesn't know anything about being a survival guide, and Cole says, I don't care.
Yeah, that thing that I'm trying to offer you a job for, I don't care if you can actually do it.
But this is where we get to meet Cole's friend Burns, played by Rutger Hauer. What are your thoughts on Burns?
Charismatic. I enjoyed him on screen.
Yeah. I don't know if I would pick him as the leader of that group, though.
No?
No, I don't know what it is. Something about it doesn't fit for me. I mean, I love Rutger Hauer. He was amazing. And he's not bad in this movie. I just find the character... It's like they combined two different characters in this movie into Burns.
Okay.
But Mason proves himself capable of the job and earns $20 by running on a treadmill for 30 minutes. And I'm sorry, but that's not running. That's fast walking.
Well, I mean, Rutger Hauer or Burns or whatever, because I never know characters' names, does set the treadmill to that speed.
True.
Right? So it's like, hey, if you had put it faster, I would have run faster. But this is what you put it on. I did it for half an hour.
And he's immediately panting, which I find hilarious.
Immediately.
How many cigarettes do you smoke? As many as I could get. Commitment.
All right. That line did not do it for me. It's like, all right, yes, you're homeless. We know. Yeah. Whatever.
He uses the money to get a really shitty hotel room. And before we get into what he spends his money on completely, the conversation that's happening in that lobby, the one dude on the left looks straight out of Lord of the Rings. Did you see him? Did you notice him?
No. I was just
long...
the guy behind the counter.
Oh, no. The guy's got super long white hair, white stringy hair. And his sideburns, not beard. His sideburns come down to like the middle of his chest.
All right.
It's a look and a half, but he's got a bald chin. And it is a look, dude.
Okay, I might have to go back and look at that.
Yes, definitely. Just for a quick second. It's hilarious. But getting back to the money, he got $20. It gets him a hotel room, a bottle of booze, a sandwich, and a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah.
1994, eh?
Yeah, it's inflation, man.
Yeah.
Remember, though, it's also 20 American dollars.
Oh, that's true. Quite true.
Yeah. Like 20 American dollars in 94 might have bought you a house here in Canada.
Well, I go, eventually we'll get into, I did the inflation for his pay.
Okay.
But Burns shows up and we get the reveal of the burns and scars on Mason's back. Oh, that was before he gets ready to have a bath. And that's when we see the burns and scars. And it's weird, like sexy jazz music for this bath scene, which I also found so out of place. All he's doing is cutting his hair. But yeah, the next morning. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, like, again, they're setting the mood with the music for something completely different than what's happening on screen. It's like some sort of intimate relationship he has with his hair.
Yeah, cutting off part of his memories. The next morning, Burns drops off the clothes. And Mason questions the money, which is $500 a week, which works out to just under $1,080 today. I find it weird. Yeah, but I found it weird that they're paying him by the week if it's just to be like a couple of days. Did that not catch your attention?
No, this didn't seem like a full-time gig, even if it was legit. So
Right?
You don't live in the hunting lodge. We'll pay you $500 a week for every week we actually go hunting. Okay.
More heavy-handed talk up next as they head out and converse about hunting and life. Everything here is it's either too heavy-handed or so out there confusing that I don't get it.
I'm already at the point in this movie where I'm like, can we just get to some action already?
Yeah.
Like, it's not a long movie. It's not a long movie, and look at how much time we're wasting with just the build-up.
Well, it's because when the action actually starts happening, it doesn't last long. There's not a whole lot to really talk about. It's just rapid succession of action scenes, credits.
Yep.
So they fly out to Hell's Canyon. It's absolutely amazing scenery. Extremely remote area. It looks beautiful. We watched the DVD transfer of it. I bet you these scenes themselves would look phenomenal on Blu-ray.
Where are they hunting?
That's a good question. It's just all we know is Hell's Canyon.
Yes, Hell's Canyon. Mr. Mason, the survivor. Why is nothing setting off red flags for you? They don't care that you don't know how to do the job. They're offering you what is quite generous pay for, especially for a homeless person without any skills. You're hunting at Hell's Canyon,
and you know nothing about the other people that you're going to be guiding.
Yeah, you don't seem like a survivor to me, there, buddy.
I don't know how he made it on the streets that long.
Oh, you had Hank.
Yeah, that's true. There's a pig on board, Frank, and we know that they're not going to hunt Frank. They even tell him. When we get to the cabin, though, I'd say the cabin's a great set piece. I would kill for a cabin like that. This is where Mason finds the locked door. Even first time viewing this movie, you had to know. If you know exactly what was going on behind that door, you had to know that it wasn't good.
Yeah, for me, when I first saw it, I didn't think this is going to be the trophy room, but I thought, okay, this is going to be a room with maybe munitions, some very telling evidence, like maybe former victims, like clothing that they discarded or something. Like it would be something that would be incriminating.
Exactly. 100%. That's the word I was thinking. I actually did guess heads in jars. And when we get that reveal later on, I was so proud of myself. And it's sad, I know. but it was a long shot, and I was right.
I guess a win's a win.
So currently, we have Mason, Burns, and Cole. And another plane arrives with the other hunters. So we have Doc Hawkins, played by Gary Busey, and he's a CIA psychiatrist. Derek Wolfe Sr., played by F. Murray Abraham, he's a Wall Street mogul. His son, Derek Wolfe Jr., played by William McNamara. And then John Griffin, played by John C. McGinley, who is an oil tycoon. I love this cast. I don't even really know McNamara at all, but he plays the role very well, in my opinion.
Okay.
Everybody is very welcoming with Mason except Griffin. And I have a note here, Sandra, that just says, McGinley is chewing the scenery so hard throughout this entire film, he probably didn't eat for weeks after.
He just creepily stares at Mason like every time you see him.
And it's a hard stare. It's like, I'm not hiding this. It's like,
no.
You have to know that I am staring a hole through you right now.
It's very off-putting.
But then we get to the dinner scene. Then I think the dinner scene is actually one of the highlights of this movie.
Okay.
We get the fact that Hawkins started this ritual getaway, and of course Busey would do this. This is exactly where I started thinking about cannibalism, or just seeing who's fit for the hunt. There are little clues peppered throughout here that Mason should pick up on to lead him further into the belief that he's not safe. And that's when Cole tells Mason not to drink too much because he doesn't want to be slow for the next day. If you're out in the wilderness surviving and you're hunting, slow is kind of key.
Yeah, well, they also just sell him we'll tell you tomorrow what your job is.
Yeah.
It's still not raising any questions.
It's decent build-up, though, especially for a 90s action film.
I guess.
But then they tell him not to drink too much, and they go through at least 6 bottles of wine. I don't know how any of them are ready to go the next day.
Well, we didn't tell you. Your job is actually designated driver.
Yeah.
We don't know if you can drive. We don't care.
Okay, this is another example of me looking way too into things. I've always found this cigarette scene interesting, where Hawkins basically forces a pack of cigarettes on Mason, like an open pack of Dunhills. And it's such a weird gesture by this maniac, knowing what was going to be thrust upon Mason the next day. But it seems like he's the only one doing something somewhat kind to this man before he tries to kill him, because he's eyeing the cigarettes, but he won't take charity. I found it really interesting.
He won't take charity. but he'll take this job that
Pays him too much.
pays him too much, almost a charitable amount for a job that you don't know what it is.
Yeah, he has no experience doing and openly admits it.
Yeah.
But I'm not taking those cigarettes. That's beneath me. What do you think about the confrontation between Mason and Griffin at the table?
Honestly, almost every one of their confrontations, even the ones that are like not at the table, are all awkward. My answer will always be awkward. Every one of them.
If you notice, it's during Hawkins' speech where Griffin is just staring at Mason again, and it cuts to father and son, the Wolves, and they just look at each other super awkwardly, like, "Oh man, like, this guy's gonna snap." And we already know we're here to murder somebody, so let's hope we get to tomorrow.
Does the son know?
No, I don't think he knows until the next day.
Yeah, because I don't think he knows. And one of the weird things that I just thought, like the whole movie, was why would the dad think that he would be okay with this? Like, I get that he's like, I'm trying to get you to like learn and be a man or whatever, but they must have a relationship prior to this that you would maybe kind of suss out if your son has any interest in this activity.
Oh yeah, the guy's not young. Junior is not young. He's not a kid. So you think there would be some sort of history, as you say, yeah. Just letting Senior know that this might not be the best idea, let alone to dump 50 grand on it just by chance. You don't even know if you even if you went along with it, that he wouldn't just report it.
Yeah.
It's a very strange gamble.
Yeah.
The confrontation between Mason and Griffin that I was trying to bring up earlier is the reference to Mason killing his wife and kid, and that causes Griffin to freak out. It plays heavily into the film later on, in which I think is very interesting, but incredibly out of place in a movie like this.
Another one of these scenes where I was just like, we don't need this.
You ever see Hard Target?
No. You asked me this, I think, last week.
Okay. It's the exact same plot.
Okay.
But with Van Damme and Lance Henriksen.
Oh, I mean, okay.
Watch that. Double feature with Surviving the Game. Fantastic idea. What about Hawkins' story when questioned about the scar under his eye?
Okay, so I really enjoyed the scene because I think Gary Busey just does an amazing job with the delivery on it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm also like, that was a really theatrical answer to the question.
It really was.
What's that scar under your eye? Oh, I got it from a dog that attacked me.
Yeah.
Like,
no. You're getting a 5-minute story about getting the dog, training the dog, being forced to murder the dog. But yeah, it's Busey nailing the scene. I don't think anybody else could do it that well. And if it wasn't Busey doing it, I say get rid of it because it doesn't come up later at all.
It doesn't come up at all. There's no need for it right now, but sure.
I love it just because it gives Busey more screen time.
Like, if it created some sort of fear of dogs in Busey and the dog didn't get killed by the taxi at the beginning and that somehow played in, I'd be like, okay, cool, right? So foreshadowing that maybe Mason uses his fear of dogs against him, but otherwise it's just like, no, it's just a cool scene that is an island on itself in this movie.
Yeah, it would have been great if, like, the wolf is what took out Hawkins. I think that would have been very poetic, but this movie is not that. Burns shows Mason to his room, where Mason has a short message to Hank in the mirror. I'm on my feet, then goes to bed. Yeah, hated it.
You're trying to inject, like, emotion and meaning, and just, this is not that kind of movie. And
it's not at all.
And you're not going to pull it off if you, like, it's just not happening. Stop trying to make it happen. It's not going to happen.
Well, how does Mason wake up in the morning?
They just charge into the room with a gun in his face.
And told to run. So, yes, now he finally knows he's the one being hunted and gets a head start that lasts as long as it takes the rest to eat breakfast. I like that little bit. It's not like you're getting 5-10 minutes. It's when we're done eating, when we're ready to come kill you, we're going to come kill you. Brilliant. But if he makes it to civilization, he's free.
He's never making it to civilization. Like these people wouldn't be here if anybody ever made it to civilization.
Exactly. And we'll also get to that later in the movie. But they chase him into the woods, and the plot finally begins at 38 minutes and 17 seconds. The action starts.
Over a third of the movie.
Yeah. Where's the money going that everyone's paying for this trip?
What do you mean?
Well, if it's $50,000 for Wolf Jr., we have to assume that everybody else is paying into this. So that's what? $350,000 per trip? How many trips do they go on, and where does the money go, is something I could not stop asking myself.
I guess Barnes just pockets it?
Yeah, but it's Hawkins who started it. I've always found that confusing. Anyway, whatever. They finish eating, and the hunt is on. Do you think the head start matters at all if they have vehicles?
No. It's not fair. I get that it's not supposed to be fair, but it's already like 5-6 on 1. You have weapons. He's just a dude. Like, you don't give him anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't need vehicles.
Especially when you know he's not going to make it back to civilization. And you're all seasoned hunters. Well, not all, but most, I think, are seasoned hunters by this point, when you look at the amount of trophies they have in that room. So at least now we know what movie we're into. Took long enough.
Right?
I think that wasn't the second time I watched this movie. I watched it with a group of friends, and this is where we started taking bets in the order that Mason takes out the hunters.
Okay, I can see that adding some interest to it.
Yeah. Did you have any predictions of who was going to go first?
No, I didn't.
I was very saddened by it. Smart move by Mason is to double back to the cabin and look for weapons. But I have to ask you, Sandro, how did the hunters figure that out?
I don't know. Because, like, there's no indicator, there's no tracks. They just literally kind of talk amongst themselves. And I think, it was Barnes, I think. He's like, oh, no one's ever done it before. Right? Like, to imply that they think that he went back. And it was like, multiple of them thought that he went back. It's just, why? Like, based on what? Like,
no reason.
You just went forward a certain distance, and then we're like, oh, we haven't seen him, so he must have gone back. Well, nobody's ever tried that before. Like, there's no reason for it at all.
Because this guy is completely different than everyone else we've brought out here, right? Even though we have no reason to believe that. That's, like, we all agree on this?
Yeah, I guess.
It's so stupid. All right. Mason breaks into the locked room, and what does he find? Of course, the treasure. The trophy. The treasure. We had fun catching that in.
If you make it civilization, this is your prize.
Bunch of heads in jars.
I was hoping for like a gun or something.
I thought there would be something else in there that he could use as a weapon.
Yeah, like something to help him get ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I just caught that. Good job. With no weapons, all Mason can do is grab a bunch of the gasoline outside and douse the cabin in it. And the hunters return and rush into the cabin, which is starting to burn even though no fire has been started yet.
I don't understand his logic here.
Yeah.
Because you set the cabin on fire, which is, maybe it's because you're angry at what you just saw or this or that, but now they know where you are. Like, you're setting off a giant flare to tell them, hey, I'm here. If you didn't already get the idea to double back here based on nothing, now you'll know.
It's completely illogical.
It would be hilarious if they just went back and it's like, he wasn't there. He didn't have that idea.
And he actually ends up making it back to the city. I don't understand the fire because they rush into it, the fire's going, and then Mason sneaks out behind them and then sets the fire they ran into a second ago. You need to go back and look at that scene.
I'm confused even just by the scene to begin with.
The only good thing about this scene for me reminded me of the last episode we did.
Okay.
And my note just says, Hawkins does a mad Bigfoot rush at Mason through the smoke.
All right.
Do you remember that at all from Exists?
Yeah. I also remember from Splinter setting a building in the middle of a forest on fire.
All right, from now on, we're just going to pick movies that have something in relation to the previous film we covered. Like
I get it that they show it's in a clearing, but it would be quite detrimental if that fire caught the forested area.
Yeah, there is grass around there, guys.
Yeah, this will not end well for you.
Oh no, Hell's Canyon is on fire? Suiting. Everybody escapes the fire, except for Hawkins, who gets thrown back in just in time to be caught in an explosion. And then Mason runs back into the forest, but is seen by Wolf Jr., who pleads for the hunt to stop, but is forced to show which way he went.
Why did Hawkins throw away his weapon and say, I'm doing this with my bare hands?
I don't know. You see stuff like that happen a few times in this movie, and it's just confusing. A lot of this movie is confusing.
I thought you wanted to win. You guys are, like, even amongst the hunters, you guys are kind of racing to see who's going to get Mason. So keep your gun. You win.
Yeah. But the thing is, he's already outsmarted you. Don't give him another upper hand. You know nothing about him. He's super aggressive in the way he speaks. You don't know he can't fight. You're a psychiatrist.
For the CIA.
Yes.
It's not like you're just a psychiatrist. Like, you're a psychiatrist who's probably been around a lot of military minds or military-esque minds that you should know. These are not good ideas for people you do not know.
Exactly. And this is where we get the Mason, like, what could be Mason versus a wolf, but nothing comes from it. And I'm thinking, this is why I mentioned it before. Like, we just lost Hawkins, but we spent time with him telling that story about the dog and how he was forced to kill it. So if Hawkins ran up and, like, almost got to Mason and then that wolf took him out, that would be poetic.
Or even, like I said, just kind of scared him into an action that resulted in Mason winning. Because, like, if Mason loses, then we have a literal Mason jar.
Oh my God.
And nobody wants that.
We already had a Mason jar. There's just nothing in it.
Oh, that's right, because one of the plaques had his name on it. Yeah.
What did you think of this cliff scene?
Who was Cliff?
Oh God. I hate these so much. It's such a trope in 90s action movies that a hero will jump and always live, even though nobody should.
Well, because you see, there was water, you see.
Yes.
I would have liked it better if Mason, instead of throwing Hawkins into the fire, threw him off the cliff. Then we could see the Hawkins fly off a cliff.
Yeah, that one was not as strong as the rest, but I'll give it to you.
Well, it would have made a big splash in the movie.
Oh, okay. You were counting on that one. I like this Mason mentality you've got working here. Double back. So he gets swept into the river below. Griffin freaks out, and Cole tries to bring him back to his wits. And Griffin drops a line here that confuses the hell out of me because he says, let me go, Sean. The character's name is Walter Cole, and the actor's name is Charles S. Dutton.
I don't get the Griffin character. I don't know if they're trying to show that he's like mentally, well, he's definitely mentally unstable, but I don't know what they're trying to imply with all of these things. Like, this guy is just a weird character.
Yeah, he's just weird, super intense. And honestly, if I were these hunters, I would not let him come back.
This is not his first time, I have to imagine, based on the way that they interact relationship-wise. And It's just like, stop bringing the loose cannon.
I do enjoy the shot of the hunters just sitting outside after the fire to backtrack for a second. And they're all trying to regroup, and in the background, it's just the frame of the cabin. Everything else is completely burnt. It's just the perfectly kept frame. Great shot, but I also found it absolutely hilarious because they're all just sitting there, winded, covered in soot. They're already defeated right now because their only choice, if they don't kill this guy, is to fly out. They have no provisions or anything. So now we're complaining about the movie taking so long to start. The movie could actually just end right now.
I didn't know that the frame of the cabin was built from fire-resistant material.
Right?
I'd have to go back and double-check, but they look like wooden beams making that frame.
What did you think of the mislead of the lit cigarette stuck to a tree?
Okay, I guess kind of clever, but whatever. I guess that's like all he's got to work with. I don't know.
It seems way too smart.
But you don't need to explain it. These hunters went back to the cabin based on nothing. Like, this movie doesn't seem to care about actually justifying these things.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, Mason knocks out and abducts Griffin. So now Mason has a shotgun. And he uses... Yes.
Sorry, I do kind of like the abduction where it's just like Griffin just looks up and you just see the two boots coming down on him. It was a pretty fun shot.
It was good. One of the most action scenes in this action movie, of which, honestly, there really isn't a whole lot.
No, there isn't.
A lot of running. Uses Griffin's comm to talk to Burns and demands to be flown back to the city. I don't think that could happen. I don't know why he thinks that would happen.
One of the stupidest moves. Like, what do you expect? Like, Barnes is just going to be like, you know what? You got us. Like, all right, cool. Let's just, let's just, truce. Let's get out of here. Call it a day.
Well, there's a lot of stupid choices here. Even Mason makes them. Like, later on, he'll be on the ATV, he'll be on that four-wheeler, and he's going to the plane to catch Burns. And he'll stop that about 50 feet away from the plane and then just run towards it. Like, you could have driven all the way up to it.
Yep.
That night, Burns and Wolf Sr. talk, and Burns can see where Mason is hiding because anybody can. That little cave was lit up perfectly. And I was thinking this could be a decent trap. No, it's not a trap. No, they know where he is now.
It's so conveniently placed too. Like, they happen to be camping right where they can see the opening of the cave. Any other angle of the mountain, but no, we're looking right at this.
So we both agree that's stupid.
Yep.
How do you feel about the bonding scene we get next between Mason and Griffin?
No need for it.
Yep. No, not at all. Like, right down to Mason giving Griffin his inhaler.
The inhaler I get, right? Because if we're taking the mentality that Mason is trying to be smart here, he wants to keep his hostage alive. Okay?
Sandro.
Yeah.
We know that's not the case. He's not
That's
smart.
why I said if we were going based on him wanting to be smart, I can get keeping him alive. But the whole bonding moment, I don't get it.
Can you explain the whole the story of Griffin's daughter? Because all I got is that she was abducted and murdered, and he blames homeless people.
Yeah.
Then Mason explains that his family died in an apartment fire, and he blames himself for it.
Yes, which at least with his story, you can kind of see how he can blame himself, because even though the building was a piece of garbage, he was hired to maintain it, and it was his negligence that allowed the fire to start. Fine, like, there's an indirect relation there, but Griffin's is just like, yeah, it was homeless people that did it.
Yeah, but we're supposed to get stories like that to help us identify with the character and understand them more, so what happens to them is more effective to us. Don't wait until the movie's 2/3 over to do that. Because we've already been making fun of him the entire time.
This movie doesn't really do things on good timing.
No, it does not. The next day, the hunters find Griffin alive and Mason gone.
What a surprise. He didn't just stay there.
Yeah. But now Griffin's changed his mind about the hunt, and he's done for good.
Yeah, he's totally getting out of here.
It's abrupt, but for a 90s action movie, it's a decent development. So Cole just shoots him in the head.
Yeah, these people. They're not just going to be like, yeah, okay, yeah, you can cash out.
Yeah. We need that 50,000. Oh, never mind. Pop. So Mason takes a long-distance shot at them with a shotgun because he's brilliant.
He doesn't know guns, remember? And that was what they were foreshadowing earlier. He doesn't know anything about guns.
And Burns makes fun of him for it, which I find hilarious.
Perfect. At least somebody is calling out some of the stupidity in this movie.
The hunt continues, the men on foot now. And again, Mason just doubles back, this time to their vehicles, sabotaging Cole's and speeds off on somebody else's ATV. Major problem with this scene. And I don't know if you noticed it or not.
Okay.
As Mason's driving away, Burns is 5 feet behind him.
Really?
And doesn't shoot him.
Why not?
I don't know. Doesn't even take aim. Waits until he gets even further away, then stops to take aim.
I'd say maybe he thinks he's a bad shot, but he hits him, or he hits the ATV.
Yeah. What do you think about Cole's legs getting blown off when he starts his?
So how did Mason set this thing up to explode?
I don't know. We just saw him put a line into the tank. That's it.
Okay. It's pretty cool how it explodes and they got Cole just laying there without his legs. Mm-hmm. But I don't believe Mason would have been capable of setting that up.
I don't think he'd have any way of knowing how that works.
No.
Sorry, I just thought of something.
Okay.
I just find it very interesting that Mason's traumatized by losing his family in a structure fire. And that's his first thing that he goes to try and take everyone out.
Was to set the cabin on fire?
Yeah.
He's not traumatized by it at all.
So that's where it's kind of like, I got away with this before, I'll get away with it again.
Yeah, well. Oh, you think he set the fire that got his family?
Yes. His alibi was, I wasn't around. I had nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I was being negligent.
Yes.
Oh, wait, you mean somehow I'm not going to prison for this? Mason wastes his last shotgun shells on a tree to make a bridge across a ravine. Was this a smart move in your opinion?
No! How could it be a smart move? Again, shotguns are loud. You're giving away your location. Why would you... Who's running away and thinks, I'm going to shotgun a tree down to make a bridge? I would have loved it so much if that tree fell and it wasn't tall enough to hit the other ledge and it just fell.
Yeah. I question this. Like, I see what they're doing. I get it. But I don't think it's good. Because the whole thing is just an ambush to get them out on the tree above the ravine. And then he pelts them with rocks. And they're kind of trapped out there. They can't really do anything. Let's just ignore the fact that they have guns and don't try and shoot him.
You know, those bullets might have been better saved in the shotgun to ambush them with shotgun.
That is what I have written down here. But like Wolf Jr. falls to his death. And my note was, why not just hide and not waste your ammo?
I find it interesting, too, that they make it a small thing where Junior actually pushes his dad out of the way and insists on going before him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, oh, that could have been your dad.
Yeah.
Just a small thing. But I thought it was pretty good, actually, because, yeah, drives the dad insane.
I think that's the first good thing you've said about this movie.
I'm sure I said something good somewhere.
Mason takes a gunshot to the stomach, rolls down a hill, falls off of a cliff, but hangs onto a tree branch, and somehow climbs back up the rock face.
Yeah. Seems to be... He should be worse for wear, no?
Yeah. Well, getting shot in the stomach and then rolling down the hill should have done it. Falling off a cliff after that and hitting a tree on your way down, that's overkill. But it does nothing to him, and he just can climb back up somehow. He has all of his strength.
No, they picked a good survivor.
I guess it does go back to what Cole was saying about selecting.
Yeah, he picked a good one.
Yeah. So Burns and Wolf Sr. wait until nightfall. This is where you're saying Wolf basically loses his shit and goes insane. Especially with, like, lines of, Mason, I know you're out here, Mason. Well, yeah. Where else would he be?
Hey, you brought him out here. Of course he's out here.
How about, I have no gun, and then just randomly firing wildly into the night?
I'm okay with this scene because Wolf is just starting to kind of go insane because of his grief.
I find that hard to believe. Only because of his job. He's a Wall Street multimillionaire. And like he's even made reference to the fact that he undercuts and mistreats and ruins people's lives.
Yeah, but that's other people.
I don't think he would love his son that much. I don't think he could love anybody that much.
So yeah, I think that's the only thing he does love. It's one of those situations where it's like, as long as it doesn't happen to me, I can be a cold, malicious person. But if it happens to me, that's not okay.
Yeah.
He's probably also not used to losing, right? Because he...
Oh, that's a good point.
Mistreats and manipulates and seemingly always comes out on top. So being defeated, and maybe even potentially being defeated by somebody of Mason's like homeless stature, is not going to sit well with him, in addition to the grief of losing his son.
I'll go along with that, sure. This is probably some of the most awful day for night work we've covered on the show. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, it's fine.
What about Wolf throwing his gun away and immediately gets the shit kicked out of him?
Well, it kind of makes sense. You know, you're not actually going to have the confrontation while he's armed, and he is just blindly firing now at this point, so he's wasting ammunition.
The really cool thing about this, and I think is one of the strongest parts of the movie and makes me consider appreciating the character, is we have to assume that Burns knew Wolf would go crazy and used him as bait.
Well, because you see a shot of Burns like just kind of watching in the, was it in the leaves of the tree or in like bushes or something, like some sort of foliage
in the brush.
He's just hiding and watching, because he's just like, okay, I don't even care if Wolf ultimately dies. If he can slow him down, tire him out, give me an advantage, he's completely dispensable to me at this point, right? Burns doesn't care about any of them. No,
it's probably the strongest use of his character in the movie yet. I really enjoyed it.
I actually thought the image of him just in the brush, like watching, was very, very good. A very, very good imagery.
It was very, you could argue, scary, because not only is it a beautiful and dark and dangerous shot, but now I fully believe that that's also Burns' character. But Mason just breaks Wolf's neck.
Yeah, of course.
But it seems a little too easy.
Of course, yeah.
Especially after having been shot and all of the physical trauma from falling and climbing back up. I don't think he would be strong enough to do that.
No, he patched up the wound with nothing.
Tree sat.
Yeah, it's like it never happened.
So we get this chase scene between Burns and Mason. It starts out middle of the night, cuts immediately to the daytime.
Yeah.
And this is where Mason arrives at the plane, engines are running, and he gets off the ATV way too far back and runs at the plane.
Explain to me the time frame of this occurrence, because it definitely goes from night to day. Burns gets enough of a head start or advantage to actually be like fueling up and getting ready to get to the plane before Mason even gets there on an ATV. So it's not like, oh, he couldn't outrun. Like, what sort of time frame did this take place in?
About an hour.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I don't remember if, you know what, I need to look at this right now. I've got the movie going in the background, so I just want to see if he is in the plane and looks back at Mason as he's running up.
Yeah, he's in the plane at one point.
But which plane? Yeah, is he in the white plane and looks back?
Well, I don't remember the colors.
Yes, he is. Okay, so he's in the white plane when Mason comes out of the woods on the four-wheeler, and then he stops the plane while Mason is running directly at it, somehow gets out, runs in complete view towards the other plane, but Mason doesn't see him. Or no, he runs into the woods and takes aim at him, blows up that plane, and then runs to the yellow plane. So somehow he runs directly past Mason, and Mason just doesn't see him.
You can't try to understand this.
You're right. I shouldn't try. It's a decent trap. It just doesn't play out well the way they filmed it.
No, it doesn't. This is a very, very poorly done scene.
Yeah, but end result of this is that Burns takes off in the second plane, leaving Mason in the forest. So we cut to the city where Burns is disguising himself as a priest. And it's really sad and kind of disturbing, but I love how we get the voicemail or the call from the concerned wife.
Yeah.
Wolf's wife looking for her husband and son. And again, just builds up his character of being like a hateful, unforgiving, unconcerned human being.
I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't think he was disguising himself as a priest.
No?
I thought he was just a priest.
What?
I was like, is this some sort of like commentary about like how he is like some of the worst human being, like just like he uses this as an outlet for all of the like quote unquote demons that he has, and he really is a priest. I legit thought he was a priest.
I've never considered that stance before. I guess it's possible. I just see where he was like intentionally dyeing his beard black and his eyebrows, and it covers, like, the camera shows all of these different U.S. passports and then military uniforms, and it's like he's got a tickle trunk of identities.
Yeah, and it's anybody's guess which one is the real one, but
yeah, I never thought about that, but you could be very well correct. I do have to say one thing about this, and I think you might agree with me. Watching this scene and seeing him do that, like this, like, why don't we just let him get away and let's turn this into a franchise?
Well, because they saw the rest of the movie and they're like, we can't make this a franchise.
Somehow Mason made it back to the city.
You don't ask how.
No food, no shelter, gunshot wound to the stomach, no clue where he is or which way to go. Still finds Burns without issue.
Yeah, and we've established that the cabin was burned down except for the wooden frame. The ATVs were destroyed. The airplanes were destroyed. It's not like there was any other resource where he could like, oh, well, maybe he doubled back to that ATV. No, like they demolished all of his potential tools.
Yeah, they had to take an airplane for what seemed like hours to get to that destination, and he just walked back.
Yeah, no problem. No problem whatsoever.
I hate the alleyway showdown we get here in a second.
Why? Well, then now they're on his turf, man.
I get what they're doing. I'm just saying I hate it.
Now you're in the concrete jungle, my jungle.
I hate the ending of this movie. The ending of this movie is probably the worst part, in my opinion.
Yes.
What did you not like about it?
Mason is way too confident in his tactic of not checking the barrel.
Yes.
It's like, if it didn't work, you would have just been shot in the back.
Yeah. The fight itself, as short as it is okay. I could have gone with it being a little bit longer. But yeah, the whole gun scene, like, I don't even think we get to see him. Like, we track him walking away with the gun. He discharges the bullet, and I don't think we actually see the hand move towards the gun after that to shove all of the cigarette butts that were given to him by Hawkins into that barrel.
There's no way those are the same cigarettes, man. Like, come on, it's been how long? You had to get through the jungle? Those are new cigarettes.
Where's he getting those?
I don't know. Ashtrays.
Ranger Rick?
I don't know. They weren't fresh cigarettes. They were just butts. I don't know.
He's homeless. Do you know how many homeless people I see smoking cigarette butts?
Yeah. So they clearly know how to get them.
Actually, that's a very good point. That's really offensive.
I'm sorry, but
that's fine. But yes, the barrel's blocked by Dunhill cigarette butts, and it explodes and kills Burns. And as Mason's walking away, he says, "Always check the barrel." Roll credits, end of movie.
I did not like that line as like an attempt to be like some final stinger. I'm like, it's not cool enough. It's just not.
It would have been great if we found out that Hank was wrong and the bullet just goes through the cigarette butts like nothing.
That's what I'm saying. Mason is not a gun expert. He tried to snipe with a shotgun. How does he know that he has properly jammed this thing that he's, again, not going to get shot in the back? Plus, he has the weapon. He has the opportunity to just kill Burns himself. And we're supposed to believe that he would just, like the security guard at the beginning, let it go. This isn't the same situation of just a security guard going off on you when you tried to steal food. This man flew you out into a canyon and tried to hunt you for sport.
Also, this is a guy who knows how to use guns only when it's convenient. But we already know he knows nothing about firearms. It's insane. It's ludicrous.
Yeah. No, it's not ludicrous. It's iced tea.
Shut up. All right, let's get into some numbers here.
Okay.
A movie like this, 1994, what do you think the budget was?
$8 million.
Very close.
Really?
I don't have a solid figure here, but it was estimated to be around 7.4, 7.5.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I'm just thinking the star power that's in here. Like, Busey hadn't gone fully crazy yet. You got Rutger Hauer. Charles S. Dutton, I would assume, is not a cheap person to get a hold of. Ice-T, definitely not. F. Murray Abraham, very well respected. McGinley was up and coming. He hadn't really taken full stride yet. So I find $7.4 million to be a very impressive budget, especially for renting planes. Although I guess a lot of it was shot in the forest. I don't know how long the urban shots would have taken, but I imagine not that long. So I guess it's 94. Yeah, 7.4 makes sense to me. I would have guessed probably 15 or 20.
No, way too high. Way too high.
How much do you think it made?
See, that's the difficulty when I don't even know of like its theatrical run or recall. It's so hard to gauge.
Well, let me tell you this. It debuted at number 6 in theaters when it was released.
That doesn't sound very good. I'm going to say 6 million.
7.7.
Oh, okay. So pretty close again, just in the opposite direction. All right.
Yeah.
Not bad for guessing on these.
Ratings over at the IMDb out of 10. What do you think everyone's giving it?
Oh, geez. 4.3.
6.2.
Oh, 6 was my first instinct.
Yeah.
Should have stuck with it.
I think 6.2 makes sense. I think that's a very fair rating for this movie.
Okay.
Rotten Tomatoes, the tomato meter. What percentage of critics gave it positive reviews?
You know what? I'm going straight down the middle with a 50 here.
35.
Oh, come on, Sandra.
Popcorn meter?
17.
48. You did better on budget than ratings, but that's fine. Let's hop into the awards.
All right. Who did you have for your least favorite character?
I picked Wolf Sr., F. Murray Abraham.
Okay.
Now, it's because he's a very, very good actor at playing calm and calculated. But what I really couldn't get past is what you kind of praised him for, and that's being unhinged. I thought he was a great actor, but miscast in this role. What about you?
This actually kind of pains me to say, man.
Don't say Busey.
No. Busey wouldn't pain me. That would pain you.
Okay. Don't say McGinley.
It's McGinley.
No. How? Why?
And you know that's difficult for me because I love McGinley. And it's not because of his performance. This character is just all over the place, and none of them are good.
Yeah.
And part of that might have been his performance, but obviously there was a large part of the direction and writing, because somebody told him to just stare. And like, this character is just so messed up, and it does not work, in my opinion. I was very tempted to not pick him, but because I just didn't want to do that to myself. But I
that's fine. You're not wrong. Like, it's hard to see someone we love so much stuck in a role that they can't really do a whole lot with. Now, we also have to blame Dickerson on that too, right? Because he's the one giving the direction. But okay.
Well, this is one of those roles where I firmly believe the sentiment stands that like anybody in this role could not have saved this character.
Mm-hmm.
They're not given enough material to save it via performance.
Agreed.
So, like, again, it pains me to do it.
So this leads into your favorite character.
I'm going Rutger Hauer as Thomas Burns. One of those situations where I don't know if I could necessarily give anybody best character in this movie. They're kind of all inconsistent and all over the place. But Rutger Hauer just has a charisma to his character in this that, like, I would have loved to see him play this character in a good movie.
Yeah. Yep. I feel like he has. I can't tell you exactly what, but I feel like a lot of the Rutger Hauer roles we see are very similar in the way he plays them. The characters may be different, but the way he approaches it is very similar to me. And I agree, it's hard to give any one favorite character in this movie because it's so overloaded with characters who don't really do anything that, like, what do you base it off of? So I had to go with Hawkins.
Okay.
It's Busey. What do you expect?
I was tempted to pick Busey as well, but he's not in the movie very much. It's kind of sad.
It is very sad. And yeah, if you put Busey in a movie, there's a very, very strong chance I'm going to pick him as my favorite character. But what sold me on him over the others, I think there's the better acting from some of the other characters, but it was that dog story at the dinner scene that really nailed it for me. Because I was in the entire time, and the rest of the time for this movie, I was kind of waiting to see what would happen next. But he had me hooked through that entire thing.
Fair enough. If I could just double back real quick to my talk about Rutger Hauer.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm saying he needed to be replaced by any means, but think of this performance as the father in No Escape.
Yep, I can see that.
I think it would have been not again. Never need to recast Lance Henriksen in that movie. But if you were like, hey, who else could have done this role and done well? Put this Burns character into that movie, and I think it would have been phenomenal.
Yeah, Hauer was very good at doing stoic. His stoicism was like a very strong point for him.
Yep. All right. So, what did you have for your favorite or most memorable line?
I had to go with favorite because most memorable would have been the dog speech for me. So I went with a line from, still Hawkins, but to Griffin, where Griffin freaked out when he thought he saw Mason and just started firing. Hawkins says, "You just shot and killed 4 trees. You laid them right out. They're dead." I love it because it's so like, you're a fucking idiot. What do you think you're doing? But at the same time, everyone already knows that Griffin is insane and you do not want to push him over the edge, and Hawkins just doesn't care.
See, I'm wondering if this version of Griffin is because he lost his family. I think they almost allude to it being a more recent thing. And maybe the other characters are also at this time discovering that he's not the same dude that was here last hunt. He's lost his mind.
You know, if that's the case, I missed it, but that would make so much sense.
But
yeah,
the movie doesn't do a good job of conveying that. So, like, all I'm left with is speculation on it. Yeah, fair, fine, whatever.
But that's a very good point. A very, very good point. What was your line?
I went with memorable because I couldn't think of a line that I liked in the movie. And it was Cole saying, "You know why we're going to find you? Because I can smell your stinking ass from here." And it was only because it was a throwback to earlier when Mason was told to wash his ass. Like that, when he checks into the hotel, the guy at the counter is like, "Make sure you wash your stinky ass before you lay down on my bed," kind of thing, right? So it was like, okay, it's a bit of a throwback. It's kind of clever, but not a good line.
Overall, I'm going to start you off with final thoughts on this.
Well, we still have one more award, dude.
Oh, right. Memorable scene.
And I don't think that there's any question what this can be. I've even written it down. It's Busey telling the dog story. It is the one shining moment of phenomenal acting in this movie. It doesn't fit in this movie, but it is phenomenally done.
Oh yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's just misplaced.
I'm going to assume that that's yours as well.
No.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the best scene.
Okay.
Undoubtedly. But remember what I told you? How I predicted something in the movie and it came true?
Oh, the mason jars.
Yeah. Discovering the heads in the locked room. Anytime I hear about this movie, someone mentions it or even think about it, I immediately think all of those heads in jars in that locked room. It's a pretty disturbing shot, like a very disturbing scene. But yeah, if we're going with best scene, there's nothing you could pick other than the dog speech.
Well, I mean, and that's why I picked it, is because it was the most memorable because it was the best, and I didn't think much. Like, I didn't predict the heads in the jar, so maybe I didn't have the same attachment to it that you did. I guess from now on we should just call you Benjamin Mason Jar.
Yeah, I've been called worse.
All right, well, fine. That's the awards then. I'm actually a little surprised you didn't pick the dog story, but that's okay.
Do you know The Most Dangerous Game?
Is that a movie?
Yeah, I'm just going to look this up right now. I forgot to write down the date for it. Most Dangerous Game, 1932, based off a 1924 short story. That's what this movie is. It has been done time and time again. And I'm just wondering if I meant to do this before recording, but how many times has this been remade? It's insane. We see it over and over again, where it's basically a group hunting a human. And I feel like every example of this that I've seen in film has been just different enough to enjoy it, even though the plot rarely differs. No, I can't see it. Let's see. There we go. Adaptations of The Most Dangerous Game. Let's see what we got here. Most Dangerous Game, A Game of Death, Run for the Sun, Bloodlust, Shadow of the Condor, The Naked Prey, Confessions of a Psycho Cat, The Suckers, The Woman Hunt, Turkey Shoot, which I highly recommend watching, Slave Girls from Beyond Infinity, Deadly Prey, Hard Target, Surviving the Game, The Pest, which I don't recommend people watch, The Eliminator, Apocalypto, Never Leave Alive, Ready or Not, The Hunt, Tremors, Shrieker Island, Apex, The Most Dangerous Game from 2022, and Death Hunt. These are all films that in some manner use the entire plot of The Most Dangerous Game. And it seems like no one actually knows the source material. So it's something to check out. It's not the best movie in the world, but it's very interesting to see how much influence it's had on things. Sadly enough, I think Surviving the Game is actually a better version of The Most Dangerous Game. Well, I was going to ask what you thought about it, but we're getting into mine right now, so I'm just going to go for it.
Okay.
This is not a good movie, but I find it a very entertaining movie with a very strong cast, some of whom are miscast in roles. But it's great to see all these people share the screen together. I don't know if I could actually recast anybody that well. And like I said, the only one I didn't really care for that much was William McNamara. But he did a fine job in the role. It's just the role was really weak. I have to give a bit of slack to the fact that it was 1994. I acknowledge that. And the thing is, we've had action movies come out around that time that were absolutely amazing. So yeah, it's weak at times, but really strong at others. It's a beautiful movie. The music is absurd at best, but I am very surprised we never got a follow-up to this movie. I would really, really appreciate to see it, but we'd have to rewrite some of the plot from the first one because I need to see some of these characters back again. It's a hard movie to recommend to people that you don't know love cheesy action movies. But for anybody who does, it's probably hard to recommend it to them because they've most likely seen it already. But yes, like I said, it's not a good movie, but I really enjoy this film. I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Well, you know me. Grew up on cheesy action movies. Kind of always been my favorite. And I can't recommend this movie. I don't think it was good or entertaining.
Really?
No. I actually found it a bit of a chore to watch this movie. Honestly, first third of the movie, nothing happens. After that, stuff happens, but it's not very entertaining. You have this amazing cast that you just completely misuse from start to finish. I can't recommend this movie. Watch the dog story scene on YouTube, and you've probably seen as much of the movie as you will ever need to see.
Harsh criticism.
Didn't care for it. So
that's okay.
All right, Ben. This blew up in my face last time. We've done 3 movies in a row in the forest. Please tell me we're not going to be in the forest again next week. No.
I mean, there are scenes in the forest, but no, it doesn't always take place in the forest. Because next week, we will be talking 1996's Bad Moon.
A house on the edge of the woods.
Out here it's safe and peaceful.
A family alone.
Mom? Yes, sweetheart? Can you leave the door open a crack?
A favorite uncle who needed their help.
Things haven't been going so good for me since I got back, sis.
You could come stay with us.
But when they invited him in,
I think I better keep my eye on you.
they let in something they could never imagine or ever escape.
What's wrong with you?
Bad Moon. It doesn't have to be Halloween to be this scary.
Until next time, have a good one.
All the best.